Yeah, have you ever had one of those sorts of days when nothing quite has gone right and you have no idea why? You work very, very hard and yet the day still seems to somehow and inevitably let you down, and through, it seems, no actual fault of your own. Well, I've just had one of those such days, really. I had lots of plans at the start of it. By the way, this is just a small sketch while I ramble. And more about that later. This is actually a little sketch of a piece of the South Luangwa River system, and it's in Zambia, and it's just a beautiful place. And this is just a little scene that I decided that it would be nice while I talk to you to maybe paint. So I may dive in and out of my woes and talk about the painting at the same time. But who knows where this is going to go. It may go nowhere. You may never even see this. Who knows? I just fancy that, when you're sort of... when you've had one of those days when, as I said, nothing's gone quite right, then sometimes you just need to pack up and to do this, just to come into your studio and paint. There's nothing better than the act of painting and creating, to unwind and to put to bed all those issues that plagued you all the day long. And it's getting late in the evening, and I probably would be sitting indoors, probably near my computer, and that said, I will probably be editing something for you guys to see. I don't get a lot of time for all that. As a full-time artist, my day is fairly mapped out in terms of creating, writing, or teaching. I have that physical aspect of my work too, so it's not just about painting and filming it, but it's all about being productive. I run my gallery, of course, which is in Hythe, and some of you who know me more personally will know my gallery quite well. And so all that said and done, it's just nice to relax and paint. And I thought I'd turn the cameras on just to see what happened. I have no idea if this talk that I'm talking about will go anywhere, has anything meaningful to say, or not. I don't think it really matters. But I may speed this up and separate the dialogue, and you won't hear it in real time, because if I start rambling, there's nothing worse than that, I don't think. It's more about my feelings of the day, to be quite honest. So, what else has happened today? Well, I'm going to put a few washes in to start with and just see what happens. I'll reach over and get some paper. Excuse me. I'm going to put a dark wash. It's a dark wash. It's going to be a cool wash. Not going to be as dark as I first thought. Just some nice ultramarine blue, a little touch of indigo in there just to take it away from the blueness. And then I'm going to let that come down into some cooler greens. I want to preserve this light top. I know, where was I? The relaxation of painting. They say painting is a therapy, and I do believe that to be true. I know, even though for me it's a professional occupation, but I still enjoy the process after all the 30 odd years that I've been a professional. I just still can't wait to get a paintbrush in my hand and try and create. I think it's in many of us to create, and some of us create more than others, and that's fantastic. Just going to warm that through the back there as it comes round this little cliff. Now these aren't sort of cliffs, these are the bits of edges of the river, and the river gets cut very deep from flash floods after the rains, and they get carved out ever deeper, but then of course they can flood too, and these banks are merely suggestions of that. I'm going to bring that down with some warm. So anyway, where was I? Yeah. I don't want to ramble really. I'm just airing my thoughts. But all the time creating this image. Oh, that's a nice strong colour, nice strong cerulean blue in there. Keeping this bead running as I paint allows me to continue adding wonderful pigment colours and changing as I go down. Nice strong oranges that are somewhat reflecting the end of the day here in Luangwa. They got a nice warmth, a bit of cool too, a little bit of blue, punch in some of that cerulean, and that's the top as it comes round towards me, and then it's punctuated with lots of these lovely little warm pieces. Keep looking outside because it keeps raining, which is okay, I suppose. Saves watering the garden. But can be quite confining too. Lovely little shades and colour values happening in here. I'm not worried about leaving white space either. I keep coming back, where was I? Well, not sure anything I've been saying is that important really. It's just me rambling while I'm painting. Something about Africa that's so intoxicating. I remember the very first time I ever went there many years ago, that I almost got off the plane for the first time and the heat was so intense, just hit me like a fan oven, I suppose. So lifting a little bit of this as I go. And yeah, I can never ever get that out of my head. I don't think you ever do. I don't think you ever get your first visit to anywhere that is beautiful. And somewhere, of course, where you've really always wanted and set your heart to go and visit. And I know for me as a wildlife painter, over my many years of doing so, for a long time I really wanted just to get myself to Africa. And one day I did a show, I think it's down in Gloucester, long way from home, and I was only young and I thought that I was invincible, and I felt like a lot of youngsters at the time that I'd hit the world stage as a major artist, and the rest of it was all going to be a case of whatever. Well, the whatever bit never actually happened, not for a long time. But anyway, during the show, I had a phone call from the gallery owner. Nice lady. Can't remember her name though, it's so long ago. But she rang me up and she said, there's a couple of people here that really do like the work that you're doing. And they were very impressed. But they actually said that, you know, you really ought to get out there and see the animals for real. And I thought, well, yeah, that would be fantastic. It's one small catch. I don't have enough funds. No money. And the reply came back that not to worry. The comment was actually joined with an invitation. They actually were two farmers that farmed a large area near Kilimanjaro and the plains just outside of Lekasali in Tanzania, and they were going back shortly, and they invited me to go with them and to see some of this stuff for real. And I don't think the phone went down fast enough, and I actually booked a ticket somehow and made my way to Africa. And that's, as I say, the rest is a matter of fact, really. I just fell in love with it, and I've been painting it and living with it in my head and in my life ever since. Done an awful lot for different things, charities, and met some wonderful people along the way, and made some wonderful friends. And what more can you say? It's just been great. But let's just leave that there for a minute. I'm going to try this. I happen to get a hold of these. Now, the brushes of choice for me are Rosemary & Co. And Rosemary kindly sent me these two sword liners. Now, I wanted one that was so flexible that it would actually wobble and flop and do all sorts of nice things. And this one's slightly thicker. This is a sable blend, but this is a squirrel mop. Same thing as this, really. Same material. except this just got, I mean, with squirrel hair, it's very, very soft, and it doesn't hold a shape. You can see, you can just go anywhere you like with it. And I just felt that it would be nice to play around with these and just see where we can go with it. And I'm going to make a bit of a delicious dark just to flick up and play around. This is what I wanted to play around with, is sort of these organic shapes of trees and things that it's very hard to pick up some pigment with this, but my God, it's beautiful for just playing around with. Look at that. I am so chuffed with that. That's cracking. That's good. Well, there you go. You don't know until you try. That's just a bit of fun. I'll come back to that in a little while. I just wanted to have it. I've just been itching all the day to do that. and I've done. This is another one I got sent. This is a very similar blend, but it's what they call a chisel. So it's quite a nice soft action to it. And the nice thing about these chisels are that you can sort of do a lovely point tip like so and play around with it, and then you can come back and you can swipe in one heck of a big beastly colour statement. When you get it dry enough, of course, otherwise you're just wasting valuable good painting time. I'm just cracking on, and I'm going to put some shadows, I think, over the back. There needs some more structure in the back, so let's do that. See how this chisel just gives you some wonderful marks. A lot of fun. And I'm going to develop the bit at the back. I'm going to, what am I going to do? A little bit of blue in there just to come down. Look at that lovely chisel. It's a whole heap of fun. Now, when I saw it as a long handle brush, I thought, ooh, I quite like short handle brushes for watercolour. But you know, actually it's just like many of my chisels I use for oils. It's a long handle, and the idea is to use it way back up the tip. And don't want to scrub it too hard, but it's really quite a nice tasty brush. I'm going to add some lemon yellow to that, and just going to soften up and start suggesting some forms that could be the bushes way off in the distance of this picture. And bring them down and let them meet and play and dance around, and it's almost like the evening light is catching a few of them here and there. Take them through the back of this tree. We can add some more to that tree, so it's not exactly lost. We don't need to worry too much. I'm going to make a delicious dark. I'm going to go in with some indigo and some phthalo green. A little bit of red into there just to take it down. A bit more green. Good to mix within and get it right. But now I'm going to sort of just drop in some heavier forms. Take them out of the picture and suggest that there is form and shape within the structure of these darks. Oh, I am so pleased with this brush, can't tell you. It's really a delicious action to it. Nice and soft. Like I said, I was unsure at the beginning when I first saw it, but I'm really glad that Rosemary sent this one down. I shall be certainly ordering some more and suggesting some of my students buy into them too. Just, you've got so many points. You can put some really fine marks in. Look at that. Very suggestive. It's all you need it to be. Whole heap of fun. Almost, you know, because of the size of that brush, you almost don't need to have mops and anything else. You know, a few of these in a case, in a brush case, is sorted. I really feel that. I think you just don't need them. Anyway, I've got them, so I'm going to be using them. But I put in some lighter bushes. I'm going to keep and preserve the top of that cliff. Don't want to lose that. And as the paper's still damp, oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm sorry. That's me all over. I am using a £300 Arches rough paper. And I say £300, don't get confused with 300 or so GSM. GSM is a different measurement for denoting these papers, and what we are using is £300 paper, which is actually 640 GSM. Big difference. So those of my students that often come and say, oh, I've got 300 paper, and I say yes, but it's probably only about £140, and they look a little bit sick when they realise that yes, they've bought paper that is somewhat lighter than they'd hoped. There's nothing wrong with £140 paper. It's just that I get a little bit fed up with trying to paint up and down the ripples as it's got very wet, and I like to keep working on paper, so I like to see this paper do more for me in terms of, oh, look at that, dead branches, fallen trees. There's Africa all over, but it's all made so easy with this brush. How excited am I? Well, I gotta say I'm very excited because this is a treat. And it's making my blues of the day, I gotta say, it's making the blues of the day go away. Quite honestly. I said to you just, right at the start, I said, art is a therapy. And it truly is. It really is a therapy. If you had a bad day, and my day's not been bad. Heck, there are people out there with much worse days gone on than me. I've got nothing to shout about or cry about compared to some people. But, that all said, if your day hasn't been the way you want it, then this is certainly a fantastic way of trying to sort it out in distress. I'm having so much fun just playing around with this, and I'm going to go in with some big gutsy marks in a minute. But I want to put in some really rich, look at, I'm almost tempted not to destroy some of that. That really is a pretty little set of colours in there, but I do want to add to them, so I'm going to be a little bit careful and just add some of these warms in here and let that start to play around with that breaking of that bank. Let it break away. Let's come back in and lift some of that back out. Take that into there a little bit, like so. Give it an edge. I want to put a little bit in there too while I can. Just take it up into there. Just suggest that as a little crevice. I'm not putting any animals in this. Just a relaxing edge of the river. Now what I want to do here, I just want to suggest a few shapes and a few contours I'm going to put a bit of blue in there, a little bit of magenta, a little bit of ultramarine, quite a soft violet, maybe even a bit of cobalt in there too, just for good measure, and just break that off and let that play around on the edge of that, like so. I don't want that to go down and find moisture, so I'm going to lift some of that out. Bit stark, get rid of that and that. Marks in paintings that you put in there and you find a mark and you think, oh, that looks good. Any mark is a good mark until it's not a good mark. Now I know that's a bit of a silly thing to say, but it's not really. When you think about it, we have all these happy accidents in painting. You know, we do something and we think, oh, actually that's not so bad. It's a happy accident. And a happy accident has got a great way of being there until it's no longer needed. If something else happens and you need to get rid of the so-called happy accident, then it goes. Suggesting a few shadows from maybe a tree or something that's behind or to one side. Some lovely rich colours in there which are really gorgeous. I'm going to go back in with some of this cerulean blue which mimics the water just enough, and it's a little bit of shadow in the face of this sandy edge. A little bit of shadow there. Perhaps I could have kept that crisp. What I might do is just lift that there, just soften it, and put a little bit of pigment back in there, and let that settle down and dry. I keep losing my way in where I'm talking about. Alright, let's get back to it. Where was I? I can't remember. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to go in with some of these nice sweeps and shadows that are coming down. Look at that. Turning the brush upside down and using the chisel as almost as a broom and sweeping it up, giving that nice sharp edge to the structure of that cliff. And then a nice undercut there where the next section is cut away. I'm getting so lost in this now. My talking has dried up, people, and does it matter? I'm enjoying myself, and I hope you guys are enjoying this too, really, painting along with me, or at least watching me trying to make a painting. It's a whole lot of fun. Right, okay. So here we are, and this is going quite well, I've got to say. Nothing is ever perfect, but it's not going so badly. Just picking up little bits of colour, dropping them in. Picked up a bit too much blue, I felt that come away, so I'm just going to tuck that away into there and put a little bit into this one too. It's quite cerulean is quite full of particulates, so it's sort of quite grainy, kind of grainy colour. Put a little bit of ultramarine into that as it comes back in to touch the edge of this, and that blue and that orange will just work with each other quite nicely. Now I'm going to warm it up a tad. I'm going to put a little bit of Venetian Red into that just to take it off the total blue colour, and it's quite a bit of this is in shade, so I'm going to actually almost take all of that out, just leave a tiny little bit and leave it like so, like that. That's good. Lovely points. I don't know how long these brushes will keep their points, but most squirrel brushes, and this is not actually a squirrel, this is a sable blend, so it'll be interesting to see how long this brush actually manages to stay with the punishment that I will be giving it in good shape. And that's got nothing to do with the lovely lady who makes them. She does a splendid job, but you know, I sort of, I'm not fair to brushes in many ways. I don't mistreat them, but I don't they don't have a too happy a life with me sometimes, I think. But such is the way of it. Right, I'm going to put in a bit of blue and a bit of Venetian Red, bit of cerulean blue, bit of Venetian Red. I'm just going to put a slight glaze right the way through there, like so. There you go. Just run it all the way off to there. And likewise, I'm going to put in a very similar setup with some ultramarine. Just take some off the edge there. Just gently run that all the way through there. A bit more water to make that work. There we go. And let that settle back. That's going to probably cause me a little problem, but at the end of the day, it's only a bit of a play. I will go back in and strengthen some of these up further on, give some darker areas. I just wanted a bit more subduing of the back mark here, and allow the paint to do its own thing. I have sadly done is lost quite a bit of that, but I may have to go in and lift that up later on. Back in a minute. I'm just going to look for some more paper. More paper found. I just wanted to gently lift some of that area through there. I preserved a few of those areas of tree. That was a little bit too aggressive. Let's see what happens with that. I might just take that back. That's it. Anyway, right. That's drying nicely, but I can't do too much more with it. And I want to go back in with a much darker dark for my first tree. So some indigo and some red. Make that really dirty brown. And let's start looking at this structure, this tree that's in the foreground. Where were we on the talk? Get so sidetracked. So easily done. A little bit of warmth on that side, a little bit of that sunshine coming in on the edge of my tree. That's nice. I'm going to leave that to settle. That's going to have a few branches that come down the edge and actually push out across the top. So I did not want to go too mad on top here, but I do feel that I need to put some more structure into the top of this to the top of this here. Pretty much dried up on the talk. I'm sort of concentrating more than talking. But that doesn't matter. I'm just trying to see some structure in this, see where I want to take it. I think it should go up a lot further than I've actually taken it. So, okay, let's just take this on up to that. That is fine. Take that through there, and that's fine too. Just a lot heavier, but that will dry back and soften, as you well know with watercolour. And I think I'm going to take that out actually and let that become the new light. And then give that an undercut there. And that cuts through the back. I almost want to try and lift some of this. I'm going to take some of that out. Making it suggest it's the top of the bank. That's what I'm trying to do, is the top of the bank. Well, I hope my ramblings have not put all of you to sleep. I do hope that a few of you are still with me, but I wouldn't blame you in the slightest if you were. I should have actually saved that. I can actually use that, but I'm going to go in here and I'm going to tap that away and come back in with a couple of dark areas. Use a lot of indigo in my work. I think so. It mixed with the right values of reds and oranges makes a very delicious dark colour, dark pigment. Just using that to suggest some of the roots that's travelling down. And then they will come under a dark. So I'm going to come back in with a cooler violet colour just to suggest these, but allowing me to put in the darks when I need to. Like I said, I'm just having some fun. And if this goes in the bin at the end of it, so be it. For me, it was the process of doing it as opposed to the net result of seeing it. But if I get lucky and that works too, then I'm really happy. Make the stronger orange through there. And I want to lift a couple areas out and soften the transition, because this is like a sandstone. It's not a hard rock. It's quite crumbly. And that bluish colour of the foreshore, get that in. That will help me locate the edge of the water, which is going to be just about there. I'm going to put a couple of little bits of twig in, all dead stumps. They will come out past. I've forgotten to hold the brush further down. So easily done. But it is all about the control. And we fear to lose control, so we tend to come down here. We feel that we can control it. But actually, we do restrict our movements by doing so. I want to get in there and suggest that real dark shadow, but it wants to be a rich, really dark. It doesn't want to be a black. And let that settle. I don't want that to come all the way down. It does in the photo, but I just want to let that leave the tree alone, as it were. I'm going to take all the way across in little taps. Darken areas, that's not a problem. As the paper's moist, it will allow you to get away with so much. I think I could do with just a little tap. I think I'll pick some up. Little tap of blue. That's just nice. Just to cool that area off in one or two places. Not too wet, just a little moistness here and there. There you go. And that's actually, it doesn't exist, but it's quite nice to make that like a little boulder with its own little shape and form. So I'm going to give it that. And give that a little edge in there. Yeah. Reinforce that edge now. A bit of warm, a bit of cool. Just subtle little bits. What I'm going to do before, this is starting to dry up now, and I want to just come in and lift some of these edges. So this brush is, I've not even put this brush down, just enjoying its properties. So nice. I'm just wetting up the edge of this again and just drawing off some of the pigment, and just lifting the edge of the bank, as it were. Just enough. And if you go too far, you can always go back in. suggesting another line of structure through there. And merely by removing a little bit of pigment here and there, you're suggesting so many other things. And I'm not punishing this paper. Normally to get these sort of hard pools of pigment and dampness and scrapes across the paper, it's almost confined to when I use hot press paper, which can put up with it so much more. But the gentle action of this brush is allowing me to lift the pigment so much easier from the rough paper. Don't want to make that too step and repeat, so let's just lose some of that. Not sure what to do. This is a little bit heavy contrast, so I'm just going to come in and soften that on the edge, a little bit more orange and a little bit more pigment to go in there. Same there. Let's see if I can lift a little bit of this as well. It actually it would create that transition between here and here. So let's just lift some of this back out. Damp brush, not too wet. And if it goes too far, then just put some of that warm pigment, while you've got it moist again, back in to match up with some of this. Okay. Feel like I want to actually put something in here. I'm just going to take some of this away, just to give me a little bit more area that I can actually see into. And that feels that that should come down a bit more too. Drop that dark back in there. Okay, I'm going to leave that because I know if I don't I'm going to regret it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in with some blue and a touch of lemon. Give that a slightly greenish look. I'm just going to suggest the edges of the water and the reflective nature of the water. I want to have a little bit of sienna into that too. Now it's quite a heavy mix, so let's just take some of that away and then come down with some more of the blue into this area here. We're going to give the water just a little bit more body, and that also helps me read the edge of that cliff there, which is perfect. I'm going to damp brush, take that into there and sweep it across that whole area, taking it all the way through the back there, like so. Pick up just a little bit more and another go through there. If it's too much, don't worry, you can always eat back in and just cut back in and lose some of that. A little bit of ultramarine with the blue up in here. Because it's very wet, it's just going to blend and mix and do all the things, well, that I want it to in this picture, but you may not want to in yours. I've done it again, haven't I? I've stopped talking. I've stopped rambling. I think that works quite nicely. Don't think it needs to be too super detailed. I think we've pretty much established the idea of the bank and beyond, and yeah, I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed sort of rambling on with you guys as well. Well, I've done the rambling, you've just done the listening. But it's interesting really, because this started off as just me talking about pretty old bad day, and we've ended up with a conversation based on nothing really. But I've enjoyed the conversation, and I hope you're still awake and have enjoyed it too. And if you haven't, I do apologise if you're asleep. I don't know, I just, part of me wants to like flick in there and take some of those out. I don't think I will. Quite like that. Just little soft taps. Let that soften the paint and see if it will just pick up a little bit, just enough. Don't want too much. It was nice on its own. It didn't need a lot of work on that. Do I need any more dark bits in there, trees? I trust the old indigo comes out again. Take some off because that was a bit too blue. And let's just reinforce one or two of these pieces of branch that are coming down there. They don't want to be much, do they? You can get as fine detail as you want really. It doesn't need to be too much. Just enough to say what you want. We're pretty much done. Just my little bit of Africa. Maybe it'll find its way in the book. Maybe it won't. Just taken off some of those. Just soften them. I like playing around with edges with watercolour because it can be so eventful really in many ways, because you put something down it can be very hard, or you can just set it up so that it just disappears, so you can put a piece in and get that hard edge and then just gently, either with damp brush or quite a bit of water attached to the whole idea, and just eat into that pigment and lose it. And I do it in so many of my paint. I'm doing it right now. I'm just softening off that edge like that. And how far do you want to go? It really doesn't matter. Trying to think, what do I need to do here? I think I'm just going to take the edge down to there and just leave. Make a harder edge of that, I think. Make that the shadow off and make this a little bit of edge. There you go. Alright, now one more bit I will just soften down there. Well, I think it's done really. It was just having some fun. Little heavy in places. Maybe you could have done things a little differently somewhere else, but at the end of the day it was about me finding some peace for the day. I've done that, and it's about me playing with some new brushes. Well, I actually managed to have a little go with that one, but have a whole heap of fun with this one. And I haven't touched any of my others. Didn't need to. I just felt this did everything I wanted it to do. So, thank you, Rosemary. That's really good. Very nice of you to send that down. Just gonna take off the outside. Should be dry enough. I don't think the areas there got too much wet on it. So let's just, if it will come away. I love this part about a painting where you just reveal that nice straight crisp edge of the watercolour. Put my nice new brush down. There you go. I lost a little bit there. Didn't quite have it sealed down. Not to worry. It happens. Not the end of the world. I think there might be another bit there. No, we got away with that one. There you go. Alright, so a little bit of Africa on an evening. Interesting. Had lots of fun doing it. And yeah, well, join me for another time. Join me for another one of these one day when I feel in the mood just to unwind with you guys and have some fun and talk about what's been going on and about the painting as I do it. I hope you've enjoyed it anyway, and if so, then I look forward to seeing you on the next one. All the best for now. Bye bye. Hi everybody, welcome back. I do apologise, that was a bit of a long haul, and if you're still awake and still with me, fantastic. But I did enjoy that painting, I really did, because it sort of lifted my spirits. And when you are feeling bad, when you've had a bit of a bad day, often if you get your paints out or even a sketchbook and just lose yourself for an hour, half an hour, whatever you can afford to do, have a go with that, because it really does work. Art really is a therapy as well as creativity. So enjoy that process and you'll be amazed the different perspective you'll gain after just that little while. I know I did, and I'm glad I did it. So apart from all the ramblings, I'm glad you enjoyed it. So with that all said, I just wanted to bring your attention to something else. Recently I kicked off a new Patreon page. All the details of that are in the description below. But whereas on the YouTube channel I'm putting time lapses or sort of heavily edited content for you to enjoy, if you wanted to see the full-time videos to some of those and other paintings, you need to nip over to the Patreon page. There is also, when you do become a patron, you get access to a small but growing community on my face. It's a very private Facebook community where I can interact with my patrons daily if needs to be, whatever happens. Have a look at it, because there are several tiers, and I'm sure there'll be something there that you might enjoy and want to get involved. It doesn't cost much more than a cup of coffee a month. So have a look at it, and you'll be so welcome to get involved and become a patron and help me support the channel. The thing is, by supporting the channel, it allows me more time, more flexibility to create much better and more varied content moving forward. So I'm adding to it. I'm actually adding to it a lot more than I sort of suggest in the tiers, because I really want to kickstart this and give everybody such I just want to help out and teach more people and reach out to more people around the world. So if you are interested, take a look at it, and if you want to get involved, just sign in. You'd be so welcome. That all said, if you've not subscribed to this channel, and I did notice that out of all the people that are viewing my videos, that almost 75% are not subscribed. Now, I don't know how all this works, but if you are watching and you're not subscribed, then hit that subscribe icon right now, and it just lets you know when my next video is uploaded. Normally every Thursday, but I want to put more out if I get the time to do them. And in the meantime, there will be more content on here for you to see, so there's going to be another video just there, and I'm sure I think there's going to be another one just there. So have a look at them. I'll catch you all on the next video, hopefully next Thursday. All the best. Bye bye for now, everybody. Bye bye.